Eyes down for a Good morning, people. It's Monday and it's Christmas present time. One new steering arm. Oh, let it hell their way somewhere. One new kingpin. One new steering swivel. 2 swivel balls. A wheel bearing, more to follow later. And the top seal that fits inside there to stop the grease running out. There we go, all the parts have come apart from another 3 wheel bearings. Right, now to be boring, what I think I'm going to do first thing this morning is get this cleaned off. I think I'll put my overalls on. Get this cleaned off and get a coat of paint on it so it's drying. I'll whack the bearings out and get it cleaned off, get a coat of paint on it so it's drying, and then I'll carry on with the kingpins, do this kingpin, put the extra grease slot in that kingpin, and then knock the bearings out, knock the bushes out of there and start on that one. Look at that jack, look how it's gone down over the weekend, bloody useless. And yet this one, oh no, I let that down, I remember. That one's still there. Oh well, it looks like it's safe on the axle stands anyway. It hasn't plunged through the pit boards like it might have done. I mean, I've jacked smaller stuff up, cars and Land Rovers and stuff up on these pit boards, and actually broken several of them. The problem is, of course, it doesn't spread the load, because when you have got your trolley jack on there with just 2 wheels, it usually is on one board. As you can see, I've put a piece of plate on there to spread the load a bit. That's it, that's better, that's carrying it now. This jack was brand new, and it's not proved to be very good. Luckily I didn't buy it. My very generous father-in-law gave it to me. He bought it for a sports car he had, which needed a long, low-level jack. Right, I'm going to crack on with this wheel, and I'll bring you back when it's clean. In fact, I think I might do it outside, to be honest. Alright, see you later. Hello everybody, it's me, I'm back. I've been on a poo run and I've managed to there's Keith just leaving. I've got rid of my rubbish and I've cleared up there, and we've got rid of all the broken tiles. So we've made a little advancement, but unfortunately it's taken some time. So it's 4 o'clock. I've got one side of this wheel clean. I'm now going to flip it over. I'm going to finish this off, flip it over, do the other one and get a coat of red lead, do the other side I mean, and get a coat of red lead on it. In fact, I might put a coat of red lead, first coat on this, and put second coat on that one over there. And then it's ready, then that one's ready for orange, and they're both coated up. And then I'm going to go back to kingpins tomorrow, I think. I just want to start getting these painted, because if I don't start getting them painted, I'll be ready to put them back on and they won't be painted. Right, if I get anything interesting done today, I'll bring you back and show it to you. Bye now. Monday, 5 o'clock, and I've got both sides of this cleaned. So we've just got to, I've ground off the other side and polished it ready for paint. This side just needs the final clean off and a grind off with a surface prep disc. But as you can see, it's virtually down to bare metal, so all the old paint's chiselled off. So I'll finish that in the morning, paint that, give that another coat, sorry, I have to remember that I have to point the camera where I'm pointing as well. Give that another coat, then add 2 coats, then this will get a second coat, and they'll both get a couple of coats of orange probably. See how it goes. Right then, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye now. Good morning all. Tuesday. Just about 12 o'clock, and it's raining. Dull, overcast and wet. And this wheel's ready for painting. So I'm going to wipe it over with white spirit, give it a coat this side, flip it over, give it a coat the other side. Then I'm going to put another coat on that one. That one's ready for the orange. And then later, when this is dry, probably tomorrow, I'll put another coat on that one. And that's wheels back up to snuff and ready to refit. Right, crack on. Bye now. Right folks, there we have it. First coat on there, second coat on there, so that one's ready for orange when it's dry. This one wants another coat. When that's dry, it's done both sides. So now I'm going to have a cup of tea, and then I'm going to knock some old kingpin bushes out and put some new kingpin bushes in. So when I'm onto that, I'll bring you back. Look at the wagon zooming past in the rain. This road's supposed to be closed. Well, I don't know where they're going, because it's closed from Foxholes onwards, which is the next village over the hill 4 miles away. It's closed all the way down to down Staxton Hill towards Scarborough, so the road's supposed to be closed. I wonder if they've stopped tarmacking or opened it again. Who knows? Right, I'm going to have a cup of tea and I'll bring you back when I've had it. Bye now. Right people, sit up and take notice, because this is important. I have taken off the kingpin that I've just fitted to the new bushes on this side. I haven't started either side yet, but I just want to show you something in here. And I think I'll just go and get a light. I'll just set a light up so you can see better, and I'll bring you back. Just a minute. Right, that's better. Now can you make out, if I put that there, the grease slot coming around here? Right, the grease slot coming around there. Can you make that out? Maybe can if I move the light. There it is, look, the spiral groove coming round. You will notice that this comes to a dead end here. Right, well it shouldn't. It is supposed to comes out that way to get some grease out into here to grease the thrust bearing. Now this is the thrust bearing, that drops in there like that, and the only way it can be greased is by grease coming out of there. And as you can see, there's a gap here. Remember, the pin will be through here. There's a gap here, and that will allow grease into those bearings. Now this thrust bearing is vitally important, because when it's all assembled, the whole weight of the tractor sits on that thrust bearing, and if it seizes up, your steering becomes really hard to turn and not very nice at all. So if you get bushes, you've got to remember that the lower bushes have to be open at the bottom, at the end of the grease slot, so that grease can get out into here and keep your thrust bearings lubricated. So what you've got to have is the top bush is closed at the top and open at the bottom, and the bottom bush is open at both ends so that the grease can get right through it, come out the bottom and lubricate your thrust bearing. Right, it's most important. Now what I'm going to do is get a Dremel and cut a little slot from the end of the grease slot there just to the outside so that the grease can escape that way, and then I'm going to put it back together after I've wire brushed it off. So there you go. To get this off, just take the 3 bolts out. I used the blow lamp on the nuts, and they wouldn't shift with the 3/4 socket set, and I used a blow lamp on the nuts and they just cracked off straight away. So that's the way to do it, warm the nuts up. Right, I'm going to do this and I'll bring you back and show you what I've done. Back in a minute. And there we go folks. A couple of seconds with the Dremel. This is my cheapo Dremel with a little cutter on. And it just takes it back to these are a steel bearing with a bronze face on it. Just takes the bronze face off and back to the steel bearing, and we've now got a grease outlet there which will let grease into the thrust bearing and will lubricate the thrust bearing and hopefully keep it in good condition and stop it seizing up so that your tractor steering works really well. Right, I'm going to put this back together now and I'll bring you back when I'm on the other kingpin. Bye now. And there we are folks, all back on, all reassembled and greased. And I've popped it out 1 bolt hole because I want to bring it out. I've seen on, I can't remember whose website it was now, but they said if you come out so that the outer side of the front tyre is level with the outer side of the back tyre, you increase the tractor's stability, and I can well agree with that. Now, because our piece of land is quite uneven in places, stability is something we want to know all about. So if that, I've got that into position, in that position, I've come out one hole. I've copper slipped these bolts and I've really nipped them up again. But if we find, I think looking at it, that's going to be about right. But if we find that we can come out another hole, I might bring it out another hole until the front tyres and the rear tyres are in line, because it will increase the stability of the tractor. Right, I'm now going to have a cup of tea and crack on with this side. You will notice that while I had that off, I took the opportunity to clean it all up and get it ready for paint. So I'm going to do the same with this other side as well. They aren't difficult to take off. If you heat these nuts, just heat them up with a little blow lamp, right, and put your big. You need, with tractors, you need a big socket set. There's no way you can get away without having one. So just go buy one. They aren't expensive. I think I paid 80 quid for that about 105 years ago. I don't know how much they are now, but they're not expensive, and you really can't do without one. So I'm going to heat those 3 nuts up. What I've done, support. What I did to get that axle off in half was I took the axle stand and put it under that nut there on the tie bar. Right, I'm now going to move it back and put it back so that it's underneath the whole axle. And I'm going to do the same at that side, because it's a bit of a sketchy support, that, and it also I'm at an angle because I'm on the pit boards. So I'm going to move that back, and then I'm going to move that side to onto the nut so that I can get those 3 nuts loose, and I can get that half of the axle out, and I'll clean that up and I'll fit the bushes with it out and measure them with it out, because it'll be a lot easier than doing it with it in. It's only 3 bolts. Right, I'm going to crack on with that, but first I'm going to have a cup of tea. Bye now. Right folks, just to make it clear what I was saying about the bushes, right, this is a top bush, right, that has an open grease slot at one end which has to go down so that the grease from the grease nipple in the centre can get into it. At the top it's closed, right. This is the lower bush, which I have modified, and it now has an open bit at either end so that it can get, grease can get in there and come out here to lubricate the thrust bearing. Right, that's what you have to do. Apparently they don't come like this anymore, but if you check in the manual, that's what it says. The lower bearing is supposed to have an inlet and an outlet on the grease slot. There you go. Okay, make sure you get it right, because if you don't, you'll end up with seized up thrust bearings and a tractor that's really hard to steer. Okay, bye now. Right folks, kingpins. I've just measured this. This is about 5 thou under. Let me check it again. Yeah, it's about, this is about 5 thou under and this is about 4 thou under. So dead size on these is 1.5 inch, right, and that's about 5 thou under, that's about 4 thou under. But the bushes, even with the bushes closed, they almost fit on. So what I'm going to have to do once again is fit the bushes first, obviously, and then try the kingpin in. But I'm going to take that stub axle off, and then I can do it in the bench, and probably it'll make more sense to you than me doing it and then bringing you back. So I'll get that stub axle off now, and then we'll move on a step. Okay, bye now. Right folks, well, we've got the nuts off, but I can't get the bloody axle off because the bolts are stuck in the axle, rusted in. So what I'm going to do, not today because it's now going up for 5 o'clock, but tomorrow I'm going to get the big blow lamp and heat it as much as I can. And while I'm heating it, I have here the makings of an extractor with 2 long threads that go either side of the axle, and I shall put that to bear on the end of the bolt, and I shall push the bolts out one by one, I hope. Right, so that's state of play today, if that axle had come straight off like that one did, very little problem getting that one out. I would be done now. I would have the bushes in and everything. But as usual, one side's good, the other side isn't. So that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to do it all tomorrow. So I will see you all tomorrow for Wednesday's fun and games. Although, having said that, I have received a text from Power Grid telling me the power's going to be off tomorrow in YO25. Well, YO25 is a massive area, and I don't know whether they mean at Langtoft or at Driffield, so I'm going to make some inquiries tonight and find out. And I may see you tomorrow, I may not, because there may be no electricity on. So there you go. Alright, bye now. Good morning, people. It's Thursday, because yesterday I had no power, and also I was feeling pretty crap, so I didn't bother coming in at all. I was going to go and spend the day up at Keith doing something or other in the field, but never mind. Right, here we go. I shall continue with this. I've made an extractor, or at least drilled a hole in a piece of metal to fit one of my extractors so that I can put pressure on the bolts one at a time. And what I'm simply going to do is put the blow lamp onto the underside of the... So what I'm going to do is put the blow lamp on the underside of the axle and let it heat it up, whilst the extractor is putting pressure on the bolts one at a time, just to see if I can just warm the axle up enough to push it out. I should be able to, but we shall see. I shall set it up and we'll go for it. Right, I'll bring you back when it's all set up. Bye now. Shut the fuck up. Right, there we go, folks. Blow lamp nicely wedged in exactly the right place. Extractor on the bolt, pressure on, and heat is going. So, we'll leave it to warm up and see what happens. I will, of course, be standing next to it, monitoring it. Okay, bye now. Well, it was a good idea. The only thing I managed to do was to heat one of my threaded rods up, glowing red, and stretches. So I have reverted to the huge brass oblique bronze punch on the end of the thread with a nut on and tapping it backwards and forwards with a huge hammer, and this is working. Now I don't know what to do now. I don't know whether to pour a bucket under it and pour water over it to cool it down and give it a shock. I'll just let it cool naturally. I think I'll let it cool naturally while I go for a cup of tea, because this is not going to be a short job. I will have it off, but it's not going to be a short job. I think there's a rule appearing here, and the rule is, if you're working on anything with two sides, if the first side goes dead easy, the second side's going to be seized solid. And it certainly worked out that way with the kingpins. I mean, the first kingpin wasn't too bad. The second kingpin was bloody awful. The one I thought that wasn't actually very worn was bloody awful. This came off straight away. That's seized solid. So there you go. I'm sure all you car mechanics will take one look at it and say, absolutely right. If the first side goes easy, the second side's going to be a bastard. Right, I'm off for a cup of tea. Bye now. Whoops. Must be more careful where the flame is going. Isn't that interesting? I thought, oh, that bolt's gone. It's loose. That's pushing through now. It wasn't. That was stretching, and stretching very, very easily. There you go. Right. Bye now. And there we go, folks. I've spent the last 3/4 of an hour with a very large brass punch, which is now a very hot brass punch, punching at the end of the bolt with the nut screwed on. That's just ground down to fit inside the nut, right? Just ground down to fit inside the nut. The nut screwed on all by about 4 turns, right? So that there's just enough nut sticking over there to hold that in location, right? And I've just left the blow lamp on it like that, heating it up, and it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And all of a sudden it got to the critical temperature, and the first bolt started moving, then the second bolt started moving, and now the third bolt's come out. So I'm in a bit of a quandary now, because I need probably to put a bolt back in to get that bolt freed in the axle. So I'll crack on with that. It is 11 minutes past 3. I've been at this since about 12:30, maybe even before then. So there you go. So sometimes you've just got to stick at it and bloody persevere. And even a small amount of heat, as you can see, even a small amount of heat applied for long enough does the job. Now if I'd had oxyacetylene, which I gave up years ago because it's too bloody expensive, you could heat the outside of it quicker, and because you were heating the outside of it quicker, the inner part where the bolts are would stay cool, right? And it might just have expanded enough to crack it off quickly. But there you go, this has done the job anyway, so who cares? The job's done. I shall finish it off, get it out, and then we'll carry on where we left off about 2 days ago. Okay, bye now. And there we are, folks. Still red hot, or still hot, but all 3 bolts out. As soon as I decided that the bolts were now sacrificial, and if I knackered them, I knackered them, I remembered I had that brass or bronze drift, which I can hit on the end of the bolts without damaging the steel. I also have this one. Whether that's phosphor bronze or not, I don't know, but it certainly could be. If it is, it's very good for making bushes with, except I've probably now bent it, but there you are, I can always straighten it out again. So, job's done. Thank goodness for that. The other side came off so easily. I didn't even have to hit it. I just put the socket, slackened the nuts off with the blower lamp, heated each nut, and used the big ratchet set and the cheater bar, bang, and each one came off straight away. And then I just tapped the axle half off, and it was no more bother. They just tapped out. They were rusty, but they weren't as rusty as that. So there you go, look at the state of those bolts. They have been rusty. That one's still burning its way into the pit boards, but they've come out. We may even be able to save them. But if you're going to hit the end of a thread, don't hit it with a hammer, don't hit it with anything steel, hit it with a bronze drift or a brass drift or a copper drift. The only problem with this was the end kept mushrooming out, and because it was such a tight fit inside the nut, I had to keep grinding it off. But we've done it. It's apart. God knows what I'll feel like tomorrow morning. I think my muscles will be aching. Swinging this small hammer one-handed, swinging that one-handed whilst holding the drift into the nut. Job done. See you later. It's a save, folks. The bolts are fine. I've wire brushed them, thanks to my wonderful new tap and die set, going up to 1-inch UNF as well as 1-inch UNC. We've managed to clean the threads out with a tap and a die, and they are beautiful. There was just a little bit of bossing at the top, which has now been removed, so we've got 3 bolts saved. Good show. Right, I shall carry on and see if that axle's cooled down enough to lift it out yet. Bye now. Right, there we go, folks. It's a full save on the bolts. And I'm now going to put another coat of red lead on this one, so it's had 2 coats as well. That one's had 2 coats. Because, believe it or not, even though it's now 4:14, as the radio has just said, this axle is still too hot to handle. So I'm going to leave it till tomorrow. So there you go. Thank God it's off. Right. I'm going to put some paint on. I'll bring you back when I've done it. Bye now. Good morning, people. Friday, 11 o'clock, and on the filthy bench, we've knocked out the old bushes by the simple expedient of finding the join and tapping in our tiny little chisel to turn them over. It's a bit rough, that chisel, could do with grinding up, but never mind, it worked. And we're now fitting the new ones. Now remember what I told you? The top bush at the top has the closed end upwards, and the bottom bush has both ends open. I always put the join on the not on one of the thrust faces, so that the end of the grease groove is adjacent to the grease knuckle. So there you go. So I'm going to set my threaded rod rig up now and pull those in. So I'll bring you back when I've done it and we'll see what the fit's like. Dun dun dun. Bye now. Right folks, it's measuring up time, and I have measured up, and I'm quite happy to state that there is 4 thou difference between there and there, right, which is not very much at all. Which is a good thing, because first of all, these new stones do not fit, because mine are much wider. And the second thing is, this won't go in there anyway with the bushes in. It cleans out the internal with the bushes out, but with the bushes in it just won't fit. So we're going to have to think of another way of getting 4 thou out of there. Now I've noticed that on this the finish is rather rough. It's not brilliant. Can you hear my fingernail scratching on it there? It's what my mate Richard used to call SMF, strike match finish, right? And I'm wondering if I put this in the big lathe, spin it, and just emery tape it down to a nice finish, whether that won't take about 4 thou off. It's a little uneven, but only by about half a thou. I've already had my scraper in and taken the edge off there, and the spline does go in, but it comes to a dead stop where that little line is just there, right, which is to be expected, I suppose. But there's not very much to take out of it at all. 4 thou isn't very much on the diameter. I mean, you know, we're not like I've said before many times, we're not talking Ferraris here. Let me have a think about it and I'll bring you back. Okay, bye now. Right folks, here we have the setup. Faceplate, steel bolt tightened in, centre in, bush in, and a revolving centre at the other end. And what we get is there we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is just emery tape off this rough finish, this strike match finish as Richard used to call it, and see how many thou we've taken off. So I'll crack on with that and I'll bring you back when I've got it done. But first I'm going to measure again the outside diameter of these two. Okay, I'll bring you back when I've done it. Bye now. Friday, 1:45. And she's going in. Wants a bit more off it yet, but it's working, it's going in. We've got about 2 thou off it, we've got about another 1.5 to 2 thou to go, and it's taken all the strike match finish has come off now, and it's getting to be a very smooth surface indeed, which is just what we want. We're running on a copper bearing. Right, I shall bring you back when I've done more, but now I'm going to have a cup of tea and something to eat. So I'll catch you later. Bye now. And here we are, folks. It's the rig of death. I do like this lathe. I do like this lathe. Not that I don't not like my Fordson, but this is such a nice piece of kit. So quiet. So quiet. Right, I'm going to crack on. I'm not going to show you me emery taping this because it could give you I don't know, a false sense of security, or make you scream, "What the hell is he doing?" at the screen. We're actually about with about 1 thou to go before we hit the right size. Now we're going to have to go a bit further than that because obviously we need a bit of clearance, a bit of running clearance. Not very much, but we need a bit of running clearance. Right, I'm going to crack on with it. Catch you later. Right, folks, 4 o'clock, and we're just now I've got it down to within about 1.5 thou of the internal diameter of the bushes. So what I'm doing now is I've stopped taking. I've taped this down until it's beautifully smooth and parallel all the way along. I've matched the micrometer readings all the way along so that I know I've got a solid diameter. What I'm doing now is scraping, using my micrometer blue, and scraping the bush, because with these being split bushes, when you fit them, the first thing you do is you clean out the bore, which I do with this honing machine. Clean out the bore so that you know there's no scratches and no lumps, as I said, so that you know there's no scratches and lumps on the bore, and then you fit the bushes. Now when you fit the bushes, they're not perfectly rammed on the inside to start with, because they expect them to be reamed, of course, if you can get hold of a reamer. But I've left this 1.5 thou up, and I'm now bluing up and fitting to the bushes. So as I get a mark on the bush, I scrape it slightly, right? And I've gone all the way through. This is the way it goes in. I've gone all the way through that bush. That bush is now scraped clean. I'm going to start scraping now on the top bush to get this part of the bearing into the top bush. So there'll be some to remove from the top bush, and then if I find when I get there that this bearing is tight in the bottom bearing, I'll take just a bit more off there, off that bearing face there, to make it fit. Right, now I'm just going to carry on with this. There's no point in you watching it because it's terribly boring, but it's a matter of blue the shaft up, which you don't have to do every time because the blue stays on the shaft. You blue the shaft up, you put it into the bush, you give it a turn, you mark the bush, you mark the high spots on the bush, and then using ubiquitous bearing scraper you relieve the high spots until you've taken all the blue off. You just scratch it. I mean, this is taking off such a tiny amount, but you just scratch it away until all the blue's gone, and then you blue it up again, then you stick it in again, turn it round and leave some more marks and remove those. And as you carry on going, it goes from not fitting at all to going straight through the bush, and when it goes through you get a large area marked up, and those are your actual bearing surfaces. Now whether we have to relieve those a bit more to get just a bit of grease clearance in it, I don't know. The first thing to do is to get it through and fitting. So that's what I'm going to crack on with now. Right, I may bring it. What time is it now? It's 4:20. I'm probably not going to get any more done much today, so I may bring you back for the last moments of the week, but in case I don't, thanks for watching. Thank you to all my new subscribers for subscribing, and welcome aboard. There was 38 of you last month, so I'm quite pleased. I'm really pleased with that. It seems that my subscribers are going up to what they were 6 months ago again, because I was getting about 1 new subscriber a day then, and all of a sudden it stopped. I've never been able to fathom out why, but I've managed to send a message to YouTube and immediately I sent a message to YouTube. Mysteriously it started going up again. Subscribers, when you subscribe, click the little bell. Make sure that you click on the all option so that you get all notifications. And then if you don't get notifications, can you just tell me in the comments, please? Because I'm getting ever so many subscribers are coming back to me and saying, YouTube's not telling me when you let a new video out. Well, my new video comes out every Saturday at 4 o'clock onwards, right? Usually between 4 and 7 I launch 1 or 2 videos. Well, recently it's been 2 because I've been shooting a lot of footage of the tractor because I find it interesting. I'm sure a lot of other people find it interesting as well. So if you don't get the notifications after you've clicked the little bell and clicked it on the all option, if you don't get the notifications, please let me know, because it means that YouTube still aren't notifying my subscribers that I've put new product out, and they're supposed to be, listen at me, product, new movies. Alright, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. I'll see you all next week, unless I see you in a minute when I've finished. Bye now.